Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the JT Effect on the Black Boss channel, on the JT Effect, on wherever you're watching this on, wherever you're streaming this at, Facebook, YouTube, it doesn't matter. I appreciate you all tuning in. We are going to be talking about a very serious topic, a touchy subject. To some, it might be controversial, but I feel like we need to have these tough conversations because these conversations are needed. So if you're just now tuning in, please feel free to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button, comment, share, type in B1 if you are Black first before anything else. Like we always say, if you're Black first before you're Republican, if you're Black first before you're Democrat, anything, type in B1 to show your solidarity to the Black community. We are Black first. And if you happen to be an Asian person from the Asian community watching this, welcome. This isn't anything to keep you all out. Everybody is welcome into this conversation. I'd love to have your thoughts on what's going on. We are going to really dive in. I see you all typing B1 already. I appreciate that. B1 back to you. Love you guys. I appreciate you all coming in. So we're going to really dive into this in the next few seconds. Sorry, my stuff didn't hit. Okay, sorry. We're going to dive right after this.
Just share with me your thoughts. Don't be afraid to talk to me and show me who you are. I wanna know. Talk to me.
It's the JT Effect. Now who else can make you feel like that? It's the JT Effect. Now who else can make you feel like that?
Talk to me. Just
Hey, what's up? What's up? Welcome everybody to the JT Effect. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I see the likes coming in, so please continue. Please hit that like button. So we need this video to get out. Again, this is probably one of the most serious combos we will ever have on the JT Effect so far. We have a lot of serious conversations, but we're really going to dive into it. I want to go ahead and bring in my special guest, Frank W. Johnson. Frank, how are you, bro?
I'm good. I'm here. I ain't hurt nobody this week, so I'm doing all right.
That's good, man. That's good, man. Glad to have you, man. We're diving into a really serious conversation where and Frank, for everybody that knows, he was on here before. He is a teacher and an activist located in Memphis, Tennessee. You will constantly find him in the streets fighting on behalf of Black communities, but not even just the Black community, of just people, humans in general. Because honestly, if this government would take care of Black people first, it helps out everybody else. You help so many others, because Black people are on the bottom of this barrel. But Frank is out there fighting. And I think you just said you was at a rally last week on behalf of having clean water, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and I think, yeah, go ahead.
No. I was going. Okay. Well, we have they're trying to build another extension of I think the Keystone Pipeline, and they're trying to run it through Memphis, and of course they want to run it through historically Black areas. A lot of things have come to head. We found out a lot of Black people and a lot of Black organizations have taken money from this company, and took the money in exchange for their silence. And it really didn't come to a head that this was actually happening until homeowners in this area of Memphis, called one of the areas is Boxtown, which was an old slave community. And the name Boxtown comes from the train cars that they used to make homes out of. So they just call it Boxtown. But a lot of those families still own property. And I mean farmland. I mean all types of huge, big pieces of land. They're farmers, all this type of stuff. And so you really didn't get a notion or the indication that this was happening until these landowners and homeowners started having to go to court because they were being sued. Because this pipeline company was making offers to certain people. I mean, they were offering one guy, they offered him $7,000 for I don't know how many acres of land because they don't feel that they have to pay Black people for their stuff. And when these people refused, they took them to court to sue them, trying to use them in the domain. So that's really how so much about this pipeline came to the forefront. People, they're over there trying to take black folks' land and blame them for it. So, but this aquifer that they're trying to build this pipeline over, like I was just telling you, John, is supposedly one of the oldest aquifers in the world. Like the water that is in this particular aquifer has not been disturbed since the planet was created. I think if it's not the last source of fresh water, it's one of the last sources of fresh water on the entire planet. And those of you that don't know Memphis already has an issue with environmental justice because it has so many contamination sites. One of the biggest ones I grew up in and still have been affected by, our groundwater and all that's contaminated. But I mean, just the whole fight to where you're just going to throw a pipeline over this aquifer, steal land from older black people again, and then and I mean, not only through our neighborhood, it's going into South Haven, which is a white area, and now those residents and stuff are rising up against this too because they weren't made aware of it as well. And so it's just the whole, just this whole corporate mindset to where you just use until exhaustion is just going to kill us all if we don't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, for everybody tuning in, this is Frank W. Johnson. He is a teacher and an activist, and he is constantly in the streets fighting. So, I mean, he definitely has his ear to the streets. He's talking to the people, not just, politicians, because there's a lot of bought black people who are willing to just give away all of us just to get some money. But yeah. Frank is one of the few people that I definitely trust, and he is like I said before, a walking historian. So we're going to dive right in. Really, the reason why I wanted to touch the subject today is mainstream media gaslighting black people. And the reason why I asked that, I'm going to share this screen with you all because I want you all to kind of see what grabbed my attention, really. And let me see if I can find it. Maybe I accidentally deleted it, but there was this article, and I talked with a friend about this as well. And the article basically said how black people can be allies to the Asian Americans right now, and which I definitely understand it. But I think a lot of people had some issues with that, and I had some mixed feelings about that as well. And it was really interesting because actually I'll just share the link to the actual article. But it's funny how they changed the title, right? It said something completely different because I'm trying to find that actual title. So now they changed it to, if you all can see, it says join, support, and donate coalition of minority Americans come together to dismantle hate. But the initial thing that they had up was, if you can see at the top, maybe not, but it says how black people can be strong allies to Asian Americans right now. And it's just like, and it's like, why would you have that title from me? Where it's just like, because black people, historically, black people have come to the side of a lot of other people, other communities, even white people. We fought in wars where even before, during, and after the war, we were treated like crap. So it's really interesting why this title came out. And actually, I think I finally found it. Okay, let me stop sharing this, and I'm going to share. And this is what initially kind of gave me mixed feelings on this. Let me see if I found it. Here it is. So if you guys can see that, I'll try to, that's not it. Let me see. I'll try to click on a bigger image. Actually, I'll stop sharing that. Sorry, I'll get this together for y'all. Hit the like button if you're coming in. Also comment B1 if you're just now coming in. Let me see. I'm gonna get this working. Let me see. Okay, here it is. Okay, so regardless, I guess I can't really share. But as you can see on the right, it says how black people can be strong allies to Asian Americans right now. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, when have we not become allies? When did we stop being allies to Asians, to any community? When have we stopped becoming allies? And I feel like a lot of times black people have become, in a sense, the whipping post for a lot of these communities. We are being scapegoated. Mm-hmm. We are being gaslighted because of and this is my opinion. I'm gonna go to Frank because I want to get his response. Y'all comment what y'all think about this. I feel like our trauma, in a sense, is being used against us to shame us and guilt trip us into helping another community. But the problem that I have with that is that, like, why were Black people targeted? Why were we specifically targeted? Why didn't it just say how you can be an ally? So you see how the title initially said how Black people can be strong allies to Asian Americans right now. And it's just like, wait, whoa, when have we not become allies? To this other title to where it says join, help, all and donate a coalition of minority Americans. And it's just like, why wasn't that said in the first place? Why did you target Black people? Why are Black people always targeted? It's always our responsibilities to be Superman and Superwoman, to come, even with voting. It's like we are targeted. Like help save us from these big bad Republicans, because Black people, y'all got to get out there and vote. And if Black people don't vote, and if we don't win, it's Black people's fault. Everything, it all falls down to if we don't get ahead, it's Black people's fault, and I don't like that. I'm going to share the other article so y'all can see that what it initially was. And like I said, I had a problem with that, because I was like, that is not fair. To have Black people, just be. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Frank, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? I feel like I've said enough. I mean, I guess my question for you is this gaslighting? Is it insensitive and manipulative against the Black community by weaponizing their trauma against them, or am I reaching? Is this a reach?
I mean, everything you said was right. I mean, it's all of that. I mean, it is gaslighting. It is weaponizing. It everything you said. I mean, where do we live? Where do we live? The propaganda industry, or as it was renamed, public relations industry in this country, is phenomenal. It's the best in the world. And I mean, the thing that, now you pulled this article up, but there was actually another story I think done on ABC, if it wasn't a month or so ago, when they were basically saying that all of the hate crimes that are being instigated against Asian people right now are being committed by Black people. But they, in every one of these reports, kept showing these three cases, only these three cases, where like a Black person and an Asian person got into it. Nobody was killed. I think maybe one person was hurt, but nobody was killed. But when you look back over the last year, the majority of hate crimes that have been instituted against Asian people have been white people. And like this whole, and it is weaponized. It's being used against us. We are being targeted. It's all of those things that you said. Don't mix your words about it. That is what it is. Now, there is a problem with hate crimes against Asians, and guess what? 9 times out of 10, it's always been. But this country loves to blame Black people. It loves to gaslight Black people. It likes to one-up us. When we say Black Lives Matter, just notice how they automatically have to say something opposite of it. Oh, Black Lives Matter. No, all lives matter. Oh, all Black Lives Matter. Oh, no, but blue lives matter too. And they say these things to us, but they don't mean it. Because if you look at what happened in DC on the 6th, did all lives matter? Did police lives matter then? No. It's just a way to one-up us, to blame us, to gaslight us, or all these other words that we say. That's exactly what it is, John. And what they're going to do in this case, what they're going to do, and what they're trying to do already, they're trying to even drive further divides between other minority groups. That's really what the main goal, and of course the main goal is to always objectify Black people. But the other goal is to stop any type of cohesive unity from coming from these communities. That is what the goal is. And they have no problem. They have no problem throwing this back at Black people. Because what did you see last year? Last year, during all those George Floyd protests, you saw Asian and Black people and everybody else. You saw that. And you also saw how hard they beat that back, but didn't beat these people up in DC. And it's everything that you just said, John. And this system, the way that they do things here, Malcolm X said it, you know, these people that have you hating the people in power, I mean, hating the people being oppressed, and have you loving the people doing the oppressing. And then this is not just black folk, y'all. This is all of these things. All of these minority groups are getting done like this, but they just believe if they just suck it up, like so many of us have brought about the propaganda. If we just soak it up, everything is going to be all right. But eventually these white racists and this white racist system is going to show you who it is. It's going to show you what it is. And at some point you are either going to get sucked in and murdered by it, or you're just going to accept the reality of that this country only favors rich white men. Even the poor white people have been taken advantage historically by this system, but they believe the propaganda. If they just work this and work that, it's going to be no. And not only will the system do these things, it will turn around and manipulate it. Like, for instance, you created this this barrier between poor whites and black people. But they'll go right over and accuse black people, tell that white person that, oh, those black people taking your jobs, or and will use that racism to continue a corporate agenda. And it won't even reward the poor white people that are on their side. I mean, this country is the master of manipulations. And if you don't believe that, then I don't know what to tell you. But, you know, everything you said, John, is true. Everything you said.
You know, it's really sad to see these games being played. And actually, I'm talking about this, and we're talking about other communities that don't help us. And remember earlier when I said there are even some black people that sell our own black people out. The person who wrote this article is black, is a black woman who wrote this, and her name is Char Adams. Char Adams wrote this article, and I said, you know what? Before I even speak on this, let me read actually what it's about because the title for me was already triggering. You know, it was triggering in some way, and I was like, but let me not speak on something, and I don't even know what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And I read on it, and I guess I don't know if it was different before, but I guess this is what the title changed. It was just basically saying all the different ways anybody basically at this point can help the Asian American community. Which I was just like, okay, that's fine. But I was wondering, like, what was it saying before when it said black people? Was it saying the same thing, or was it something in particular, like some kind of article where, you know, kind of like basically shaming black people? It's like, hey, you've gone through this, so you should know. We should go out and help Asian people. But the issue that I run into from that is, as much as you want the entire community to go and help the black community, which is the entire community in a sense is shame to go help this other race, which, you know, whatever, fine. But why aren't other races? Why aren't there other articles of saying how to Asian? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I know somebody will probably sit there. There actually is. There have been articles, but I don't think I've seen an article on NBC.
Right.
That's a major platform. I haven't seen an article on, well, Fox isn't going to share anything like that. But, you know, any major media news outlets, I haven't seen how Asians can help the black community, how Hispanics can help the black community, how the Jewish community can help the black community. I haven't seen any articles on any major publications. But I have seen some news articles with independent ones, and I appreciate them because you guys are true allies. And I appreciate that because you're trying to get your own group of people, your own community to see that, hey, we all are hurting. You know, this is a human problem, not just this isn't just black people. You know, we all have an issue. So kudos and thank you to those few who on your own independent publications who are putting this out there when the mainstream media isn't. But I just wanted to circle back around what you were saying, Frank. Like, really, the ultimate enemy is white supremacy, and I do understand, but a lot of the issues that I have been seeing with because even with that article, like I said, I talked to a coworker because I didn't really want to talk about it, but he mentioned, he was like, hey, have you seen this article? And I said, y'all saw the headline. And typically this guy is very, very progressive, probably even more progressive than I am. Because in a sense, I guess you could say I would be more conservative than he is. Yeah. But I said, yeah, what'd you think about it? He was just like, he said, man, I didn't like that, man. It kind of got me mad. And I was just kind of shocked because, like I said, he's a pretty progressive guy. He's always arguing on behalf of a lot of different people. But I was just like, oh, okay. So it was real that really hit a nerve, because he knew that Black people were always, when have we not been helping other people? And I've been seeing different people's comments, and basically all of these are real issues that a lot of people are dealing with. They're constantly being, asked to throw their hat in the ring, coming to the defense of other people, are always seen as a scapegoat, whipping posts, try to help uplift other communities. And they do actually receive the help and attention. They get, legislation, like the Asian American community is now about to get some new legislation pretty soon. I think Biden has even gave his, okay on getting some new legislation passed. I don't know when it's actually going to get passed. Maybe Frank has some more information on that. But but still, even with all of this, black people coming to rescue. What happens with our legislation, though? I mean, their legislation gets passed. Their legislation is going through. We can't even get reparations. We can't even right now. For instance, all of the stuff with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, all of these things, nothing has really been resolved from that. We with Joe Biden, because we were talking about it with Trump in office, big bad Trump. We should be scared of Trump and all of these Republicans. Oh, if we keep them in office, the police are just going to run amok and all this stuff. But if we get Joe Biden in office, Black people, you need to go out and vote for Joe Biden. Get Joe Biden. We're going to push him to end immunity for police. We're going to push him to more police accountability. But the crazy thing is, the entire time, Joe Biden was not promising anything on any immunity for police, and he was not. He was talking about giving more money to police. So Black people ended up getting this man in office. We couldn't even get that passed. The biggest thing ever, marches all around, protests all around the world with George Floyd dying, and we can't even get the one thing: stop over-policing our communities, stop killing us, end qualified immunity. That's not being passed. But all these other communities are getting what they're asking for. Why not? I mean, so I say all of that, in all of these communities, typically when we ask for these things, they're largely silent. Am I being unreasonable, or is this an unreasonable analysis that I'm putting together?
I mean, it's pretty reasonable. I mean, what you want me to?
I mean, I don't, because sometimes, you might think maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I'm just,
no,
I'm being extreme. But
and see, again, that's another way that the media system works. That if you don't abide by what it says, it's gonna make you look crazy. And this country has I mean, I saw it in the 2016 election, and I knew exactly what I was going to see here last year in 2020. I knew what I was going to see because I saw it last time. And so you're going to whip Black folks when Black folks start asking questions. What about policy? What about A, B, and C? Maybe I'm done with personality because we elected a whole Black man, and Black Lives Matter had to come out as a rallying cry during his presidency. So maybe I'm not going to fall for, the banana in the tailpipe or whatever you call it. And I knew as soon as Black people, because if you remember at the beginning of the last election cycle, Black people were questioning everything. They were questioning, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Cory Booker. We were questioning him. We were questioning, God. See, I'm blanking today. Who's the vice president? What's her name?
Oh, Kamala Harris.
I'm sorry, y'all. I just completely blanked on her name. But we were asking questions of these people. Remember at the very beginning, and it was, shut up, sit down. No, you're asking for too much. Now is not the time. That's the same thing they told us in 2016. Same thing. And I knew as this thing progressed, and because people are seeing true Republicans and Democrats for what they are, like the Democrats pretend to care Republicans just don't care at all. The Republicans pretend to care. They'll put a Black Lives Matter flag up. They'll say, they'll go and take a fake knee for a photo op. But when it comes to policy, they're not going to do nothing. They're going to tell you to shut up. So yeah, we are being treated like mules for both sides of these parties. So, it is what it is. And that's the way it has been for a long time. When you bother to even ask a question or to say, hey, what about what you've done in the past? Oh, it's shut up. You know how many times I got called a Trump supporter by people that have no damn clue as to how elections work. And I told them last year, I said, you're going to wake up out of your 4-year slumber and you're going to jump on the cheerleading squad. You're not going to think, because these people are masters of public relations and making you believe stuff, and you're going to fall right in line. And not as soon as even Biden took office, we saw him not only reneging on the almost promises that he made us, but on the minimum wage. Even on forgiving student loan debt. Just as soon as he got in office. So you can't even pass a $15 minimum wage, and then you're going to say the parliamentarian wouldn't let you do it. But the Republicans had a parliamentarian that didn't agree with them. What did they do? Bye-bye parliamentarian, and they got another one. Everything that you are saying, John, is right. It is right on point. And I can't even get any more clearer than that. And then every time something goes wrong, Black people are supposed to rally to their cause. We are expected to always toe the end for everybody, and then turn around and getting spit on. And what's happening even now between these communities, it's happened before. There was a strong bond between the Black community and the Irish community, I think in the late 1800s. And then as soon as the Irish got their foothold, the first thing they did, they stepped on Black folks' necks and kept on walking. And then the same thing with so many, Italians, all of these groups when they came to these countries in large numbers, they were considered non-white. They were considered outside. And they allied with Black people, and then Black people fought and did these kind of things. But as soon as that next group was elevated, they just completely turned around and said, oh, okay, well, sorry. And then they began to share the same vibes or the same attitudes that most of the white people that were already sharing. The guy that hosts Patriot Act, one of the things he said on the problem between Blacks and Asians, he even admitted it. He said how Asians have bought into this propaganda about Black people. And he said, I know you say these things because I hear you say it. And what this country and what white supremacy will always do, it's going to show you that they don't care about anybody outside of white people. And the lower this thing gets, the more this thing falls apart, because this country is falling apart. I don't care what anyone says. We are looking at the collapse of the United States empire. As it falls apart, you are going to see white violence committed against anybody that is non-white. I don't care how they have believed this. And Black people tried to tell them. Paul Mooney calls it, you gonna get your nigga wake up call. It's like, hello, nigga. And the more this thing collapses, the more this fake facade that they have, so many other minority groups have lived behind for so many decades, it's just going to shatter. It's going to shatter. It's going to fall. It does not surprise me. And I knew that it was going to happen. When they were saying the China virus, and I knew it was going to happen, because all you have to do is look at the history in this country. As soon as things go bad for white men, they turn around and they blame Black, brown, yellow, whoever are not Black. And it happens like that every time. So when I saw this happening last year with this increase in attacks on Asians, I knew it was going to happen, because as soon as that illusion is cracked for white people, they're going to attack everyone else, because just like us, they have been institutionalized to look at us as being the fault for everything.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Well, actually, before I even start, for everybody that's tuning in, if you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe to the Black Boss channel. If you have not subscribed to the Black Boss channel, where we have a conversation like this, because we need a conversation like this. This is extremely important. to have something like this, because we really need to get to the root of why Black people feel, because you're not going to hear this on NBC, you're not going to hear this on Fox, you're not going to hear this on ABC, none of this stuff. And I want to bring a real conversation here for everybody, just to get, because we need to address the elephant in the room. I'm tired of this dancing around and tiptoeing and let's just make sure we say the right thing so we don't offend. No. Like I am an ally against Asian people getting beat up on, but also we need to address why a lot of Black people feel the way they feel and don't feel like coming as a huge horde to go and support and cover the Asian American community, because you have to address the elephant in the room before you have to heal. You have to heal before you move forward. It's just like if I cut my arm off, you putting a Band-Aid on it isn't gonna say, okay, it's better now. You put a Band-Aid on my cut off arm and I can go back out in the fight. No. We need to wrap that thing up. We need to really see what's going on, how to make sure it's not infected. All of that stuff. Maybe you can save the arm, maybe you can sew it back on. I don't know. But it won't happen unless you do it. You're putting a Band-Aid on it and you just acting like nothing happened. That doesn't fix anything. So that's why I want to have these serious conversations. Again, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Black Boss channel, or if you're watching on the JT Effect, subscribe to the JT Effect on YouTube or Facebook. I wanted to touch on what you were saying with the white supremacy, like with that whole facade now being broken. Because the interesting thing for me was I've been seeing a lot of Asian, some friends, more so associates, others associates that I've been seeing on Facebook, and they'll put like hashtag Stop Asian Hate and all of this, and and I was just sitting there thinking, just with everything that's going on, like I was like, well, let me see how I mean, because I know how I feel, but let me ultimately see how I feel with moving forward and everything like that. Because I'm gonna be completely honest. Out of everybody, all the Asian people that I'm friends with on Facebook, I can probably count 2 of them who have consistently, through George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, even going way back, they have shared pro-Black or just pro-humanity. Like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I'm going to stand up for Black people. Black people need our help. Those 2, and I think one is probably Korean and the other one is Filipino. Everybody else, either they don't dabble in politics, or which is fine, but regardless, there are the people who have been saying Stop Asian Hate and hey, we need you to speak out. A lot of those people haven't been speaking out in regards to Black people. So that's where like my initial reservation in a sense came from, to where it's just like, okay, I do agree this is wrong, but also now not the 2 people that support, but all these other people, you are asking me to support you when you haven't supported me, and that just seems really unfair. Like, of course I don't want anybody hurt, but you are demanding that I support you when you haven't supported me. And let's just be real about it. And I'm addressing it not to be petty and not to be, ooh, I'm gonna get you back or anything like that. But it's just like, no, I want you to understand that it's hypocritical what you're doing. This isn't right. I don't mind helping you, but you have to do the same. You're asking me to help. You should be willing to do the same for not only me, but for other communities as well. You need to speak just as loud for Black people. Mm-hmm. So and also there was another last thing I said. There's this one Asian acquaintance that I know. She never said anything about anything Black people. I remember when all the marches and protests and riots were going on with George Floyd. This was basically the peak of what was going on at the time. Only thing that she mentioned, this one lady mentioned, who's Asian. I think. Well, I'm not going to say exactly what because it's going to be too specific. But I mean, I know exactly what ethnicity she is. But she mentioned that, oh my God, this is so bad. Why are these people destroying these businesses? And this like this is just so horrible. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, a person has lost his life, a father, has lost, like somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's friend or cousin, and you are complaining about a window being broken. That can be replaced. You are complaining about a merchandise that was stolen. That can be replaced. That has a value on it. $10, $20, $100. So that is more important to you than a black person's life. And that spoke volumes to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the conflict, I guess, internal conflict for me, you know, in that sense, to where it's just like, man, it's like, yes, of course, like black people will be supportive, but damn, man, like why are you gaslighting us when y'all don't come support us? And it's I'm not saying the majority, but I mean not all, but a good majority of them do not come support us, and that is my issue.
Well, you look at what you said that the young lady said. Why are they breaking windows? That's not a thought that she came up with on her own. That's a thought that's been conditioned into her mind when it comes to black people. She said the same thing that everybody else said, but yet, again, and this is why I always say that history is so important. Let's talk about the revolutions in this country that we are allowed to talk about. The American Revolution. You know, we're allowed to talk about that because it was, you know, white people over here wanting to get out of something. But we don't talk about these real revolutions. It's certain revolutions that we're not allowed to talk about. One of them is the Haitian Revolution. The other one is the Bolshevik Revolution. And then the other one is the French Revolution. We're not allowed to talk about these, are we? The reason why is because what you had in those revolutions was true revolutions. You had poor people from Haiti who were slaves, who rose up against and defeated France, which was the largest army in the world. The Bolshevik Revolution, which happened in Russia, when those poor peasants rose up against their masters, their rich masters, and took power. Same way with the French Revolution, when the poor and working class people rose up and snatched power from those rich people. We're not allowed to talk about things like that, and we're not allowed to actually learn about these things because there's a certain attitude, and it's a layered thing. This is not just white supremacy doing the same thing. It is doing one thing, but it's layered. And so when you come over here, you are given a narrative about black people. You're given that narrative. You're spoon-fed it. We even get spoon-fed it. And you hear it so many times that you just repeat it. That's what she did. First thing, Windows, that's something that was given to her on Fox News or CNN, because CNN and MSNBC do the same things. So again, there are narratives about black people that are put out, and it's done pretty much to everybody, but in particular black people. So everyone takes on this attitude when they think that they're fitting into the American society, the American dream. They think that they're fitting into that, so now they have to regurgitate and repeat those narratives. That's why what she said is just like something that a white person would say. Mm-hmm. Why are you tearing down? But yet look at what you all do after you win a baseball game. You go out there in the middle of the street and you tear up everything. But everything is bad. It's so much more worse when black folks do it. And so again, she's conditioned like we've been conditioned. Notice how we talk about ourselves in this. Last year, I had to explain to so many black people about how unemployment and stuff and things like this work. Notice how we are only concerned with people getting extra money when it comes to black people. How many times did we hear people saying last year that black folks are going to be at the store buying crab legs with this unemployment? But you're not saying anything to these white corporations that got trillions upon trillions of dollars last year when they let people get evicted and didn't do anything about COVID prevention last year. It's a certain mindset that we have to break in this country. And when we start breaking it about black people, you're going to start breaking about all this crap. Because all of it is a damn lie. But we have been conditioned, and black people, we are expected to just go along and smile and keep going. One of the things I'm reading more about Tamir Rice's mother this week and some of the claims that she's made. What I loved so much about Tamir Rice's mother and what she did that I thought was phenomenal, and people didn't get, and I know why they didn't do it. I know why they didn't give her credit for this. But if you remember that 2016 Democratic National Convention, when they paraded those black mothers out as props for the Democratic National Convention to get you to vote Democrat, Tamir Rice's mother said no. She said no. because I think she understood that you're going to parade us in front of your people to get us to vote for you. But when it's time to do that legislation, when it's time to make that change to policy, you're not going to do it. So you're not going to parade me around. Now, notice you ain't heard anything about Tamir Rice's mother, because see, normally when black people start doing stuff like that, they're not going to talk about you because you're being rebellious. You're not being the happy-go-lucky black person that we want to portray. Now, mind you, black people are fighting this thing and have been fighting this thing from day one. But again, we're expected, even in the mind of white supremacy, it still thinks that we're supposed to entertain it. It still thinks that we're supposed to come alongside it and fight for its causes. And at the same time, we fought for your causes. And what did we get for it? You know, it's just interesting. Like I said, this is when they say an experiment, this has been an experiment on controlling the minds of people. And we borrowed it from Germany. We borrowed it from Hitler. You know, Hitler made sure that every family in Germany had a radio, because at the time there were no TVs. And so all of the news and information, people got that from the radio. So guess what? Germany and the Nazi Party was controlling the information that was given out. And they were able to condition the minds of those people to go along with what he was doing, even though they studied Jim Crow as well. And that's how they relegated the Jewish people to certain areas of town. They took that from, they actually came and studied Jim Crow. They actually did that. But you see how the access to information, the way we get information and the conditioning, like I mean, you can't even beat the system, but that's what all of us, not just Asians, not just black people, not just the way the whole country has just been fleeced. I mean, it's an interesting, you know, I tell you, your listeners, read books by Edward Bernays, the father of PR. You know, how he came to form this system and how they say he's had more of an effect on our lives than anybody in the history of this country, because he came up with the concepts of getting people to buy things and do things that they don't manufacture and consent. You know, and his uncle was Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology. And he took his uncle's research and used it in his work for governments and corporations. It's fascinating. It really is.
That's really interesting, man. It's, you know, when you see all of this stuff and you bring history into it, I mean, you see the master manipulator has always been white supremacy. Yeah. It's always been them pulling the strings, playing puppet master with all of the races. And I know one thing, even going back to, I guess, that person that I was talking about that was, you know, complaining about, oh, what about the windows? What about the businesses and stuff like that? One thought that I had, because I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I was just like, man, you know, the frustrating thing for me with that tension between the black community and the Asian community in that sense is that ultimately, and really that's almost for every other community that's not white. Even though you are a community of color, you will never really be treated as bad as black people, because, you know, it's kind of like, and this still goes back to white supremacy, how they have this set up, because it's just like, yeah, you aren't white, but at least you ain't black. Well, you know, so, and that just brings me back to, because like a lot of there are a good portion of Asian women who do marry into, I guess, whiteness.
Before you get into that, what you just said about at least you're not black. Mm-hmm. I had a lady I went to high school with, and she was explaining to me one night about how her grandfather was just a stone cold Confederate flag waving racist. And how she said she couldn't figure it out because they were poor too. And she said how she brought that up to her grandfather, her great grandfather one time. And he said, he's like, well, granddaddy, why are you talking about them? We're poor too. And she said, he looked at her and said, but at least we not niggas. So again, that's already in play. At least you not, and that is not old. Mm-hmm. That is not old. Right. You know, this has been circular. Look how we believe that black people just do everything ratchet. When we show up, everything gets bad. We believe it. We are spoon. I hear this from other black people, even from black people that are from the so-called hood and stuff like. We believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this with the vaccination. Oh, well, black people don't want to get vaccinated. All this. I just had a lecture with Harriet. I think Harriet Williams. She wrote the book Medical Apartheid. And she brought up the statistics, because she said everything that they've been trying to do to get black people to get vaccinated has been deplorable. It has been offensive. Now, she said, like, for instance, they said how black people didn't show up to be test subjects. She said 10% of the test subjects for all of the vaccines were black. Black people make up 12% of this country's population. So we actually showed up for the vaccination testing. That's almost the same way we show up in the general population of this country. But that ain't the narrative that they put out. The narrative was, oh, you black people are just crazy and you're paranoid. Not to even mention how it's not paranoia. It's actual hard acts and activities that they have done to black folks. And like she was saying, why don't you address the history of your mistreatment of black people, your experimentation, your just hospital treatment? Why don't you address that and then explain to black people about the vaccine and then let it be their choice whether to get vaccinated or not?
Mm-hmm.
But see, again, the narrative when it comes to black people, even when it's legitimate, it's still meant to insult us. Like we're just wrong. No matter being right, we're wrong. Last year, look at Breonna Taylor's case. One of the things that I don't want to say I love it, but everything that black people have historically said about police stations, governments, and all these things was proven last year. It was proven. Breonna Taylor's case. You had companies that are trying to push in and gentrify that area that her and her boyfriend were living in. So what do? One of the first things they do when they start gentrifying an area is they increase the police presence. They do that. So, and then you think about Breonna Taylor, her police report had nothing written on it. Nothing at all. Nothing. Those police officers did that because guess what? They're used to doing that stuff. They're used to going in with these no-knock warrants, shooting up people, and they be the wrong people. And they have done it, and they continue to do it because they've been allowed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how they went to her ex-boyfriend in jail and told him that, look, if you say Breonna Taylor was selling drugs with you, we'll let you out. Everything that black people have said historically about police officers, about policing, how we are treated, was proven in front of our faces. Look at Daniel Cameron, whatever his name's, that district attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Look at him. And then when you had people on the jury had to come forward and say, he didn't even give us the option to indict them. Yeah, and that's the whole thing where the grand jury doesn't even speak publicly. These grand jurors came out and said, we ain't gonna let this go. You're not gonna blame this on us. He didn't even give us that option to actually indict them. Now you think how many other courtrooms that has happened in. And we just don't know about it. Just so happened. And it's everything, but yet and still, when it comes to black folks,
Mm-hmm.
Come on, support our cause, but when it's time to support you, we're gonna go home and sit down. Isn't that when you get into Martin Luther King, isn't that what he told us?
Mm-hmm.
When King spoke out against the war in Vietnam, and the good white, nice liberal white people said that you're reaching, you don't need to deal with that, And King said, they're satisfied. They don't really want peace. They just want it to be quiet. Like after this election, they're going to blame racism and everything on Trump.
Yeah, because now that they're glad that they got that. It's quiet now. It's like, thank God.
But it's going to raise back up. It's going to raise back up again. It's going to raise back up again because this thing that you have unleashed now in this country, where people are, we already knew what the Republicans were, but now we know what the Democrats are. I knew as soon as they get in office, you control the House and the Senate. Okay, well, that's just like 2008 when you won, when you controlled all the branches of government, and all you want to do is reach across the aisle. But see, now there you don't have a barrier. You got the votes. Why can't you do anything?
Yeah.
And see, again, that conditioning when it comes to black folks. No, y'all ain't got to do nothing. But yet, just imagine, that's how they act when we do raise up. So when we're not saying anything, just imagine what they're doing then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm talking too much. You go ahead.
No. You're right, man. It's some good info you're giving, man. I appreciate it. Everybody that's tuning in, again, please hit that like button so this video can get out, because we need to have this tough conversation. We need to point out the elephant in the room of why there is an issue with a good portion of the black community, why they're just not running to the defense of Asian Americans. And not that a lot of the black people that I've seen that comment on this, they care, but a lot of the reason why they haven't been running to the defense is because, well, you haven't been running to our defense. Y'all have been largely silent when it comes to black people. I even remember I was working with a coworker one time, and this was under President Barack Obama. All this stuff was going on, and with Philando Castile and Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these different deaths and on and on and on. Black people, and a lot of no justice being served. Yeah. And I was complaining about some of these deaths to my Chinese American coworker. And so she just stopped one day, and she was just like, just gave me some insight. And she was just like, yeah, a lot of people in the Asian community, or at least I guess she maybe just for the Chinese community, they were like, you guys complain a lot. Like, black people complain a lot. And basically in that sense, to where I just got to understand, like, basically shut up. Yeah. You're constantly complaining, in a sense where, so I got two different things out of this. So because they have been kind of crafted to be, you should be the model minority. So that comes from that model minority mindset where just like, look, just do what you're supposed to do and be quiet and things will get better. But I also informed her, though. I said, maybe black people do complain a lot. I said, but rightfully so. I said, and also a lot of the benefits that we have, we would not have had them had black people been silent. A lot of things we benefit off of is because black people have been raising noise and raising hell. And that's how so many other communities have been benefiting more so than us.
Yeah.
So
I don't think black people complain enough.
No, we don't.
I don't think we make enough noise. And to what you just said, like that whole model minority, just keep quiet. That's the same mindset that how many white liberals have taken on. Be quiet. Now, this is what's so messed up. While they haven't had the full experience that black people have had in this country, they know what it is. They know somewhat of what it's like to be treated and disrespected by. They know. But again, you just think if you be quiet enough, isn't that what a lot of black folk do? If we just be quiet and don't say nothing. No, that doesn't
come to the Democrats. Yeah, just be quiet. Go vote.
Oh, yeah. Go vote. You're not gonna sit back and, like I said before, when I talked about Joe Biden on your show last time, I'm not endorsing him. And he's and I said I understand the rip because it's there. It's just honest. It is. But you're not going to sell me on Democrats, and you're not going to make their crimes against us go away. We can talk about the crime bill. In 94, I was in high school, which actually had a direct effect on the zero tolerance policies in school. But also a few years before, I think that same year, you had NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. You know what this did? This put a deeper knife in the back of all working Americans, because guess what? That allowed even more companies to get the hell on up out of country and go to China where they didn't have to pay folk anything. People lost their jobs. That was because of NAFTA. It also helped to destabilize Mexico when they're talking about all these immigrants coming over the border, and they're not coming over the border. The border actually went over them centuries ago, but they're coming here because our policies and our companies have destroyed the economies of their countries and made their countries unlivable. This was done under Bill Clinton. Ronald Reagan was big on that. Bill Clinton furthered those policies, and so has every other president after that. One of the reasons why we ended up having a banking collapse in 2008 was because Bill Clinton in 1998 got rid of a policy called Glass-Steagall that was put in place after the crash of 1929, which caused this Great Depression that you always hear about. It was because of banks. Banks could take your money, do what they want to. The Morgans and all those people played those people. People lost money. Rich, newly rich white people were jumping out of windows because they lost their money. And this was done by banks. And that bill was put in place during the Great Depression to stop banks from causing another crash. And over the decades, they chipped and chipped and chipped away at it. And when they started chipping away at it, that's when we started having these recessions that went up and down. We had a banking collapse in 1987. But Bill Clinton came in, got rid of the last bits of those laws, and a few years later, they were telling us that the banks were committing fraud with these mortgages. In 2004, the FBI shifted that whole group to another case, got rid of them, and in 2007 and 2008, what did you have? The whole crash. Joe Biden is the reason why we can't put student loans under bankruptcy. The Bankruptcy Act of 2005. That Hillary Clinton ended up voting for, but 5 years before that, when she was first lady, Elizabeth Warren went to her because they tried to pass that same exact law in 2000, and Elizabeth Warren got with Hillary Clinton and said, this is horrible policy. You're going to destroy people. Hillary Clinton got Bill to go against it, to veto it. 5 years later, she's in the Senate. They paid her off and it passed. So we are expected to be those mules, to just smile and go with it. And I'm going to tell everybody on this call, hell no, ask them every question. I mean, from presidential to down to your local elections. Because what you're going to find is we got decades of spineless corporate people that can't think for themselves, making decisions and then getting a couple of $1 or $2 and putting it in their pockets. And it ain't even that much money. And we should not tolerate any of this anymore. If these folks want to get mad at you, tell them to meet you in the street and y'all can trade off hands. Because at this point, they have nothing else. They have no other lies to give us. They have no other lies. And so, like, I mean, they're not even promising stuff now. Like what you said about Joe Biden. Obama, they didn't promise anything because we've gotten to a point in this country to where they don't have to. We're so busy cheerleading like on a football team, and we fighting against the other side. We're really not fighting. And we're cheering, but we're not getting anything out of it if they win. But who's making all the money? The people up in the box seats up at the top. We're down here fighting for teams that won't benefit us. I mean, fist fights and everything. You don't see those owners fighting. And we're expected to just be the cheerleaders and not ask questions. But yet, when we ask those questions and things happen, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits.
Yeah. You know, that's for everybody that's tuning in again. If you haven't, hit that like button, please. Hit the like button and subscribe to the Black Boss channel. Or if you're watching on the JT Effect, subscribe to the JT Effect. We have really tough, in-depth conversations like this, and I'm bringing people like my main man, Frank W. Johnson. He's a teacher and activist in Memphis, Tennessee, hailing from Memphis, still in Memphis, holding it down in Memphis. And we're just asking these tough conversations, man, that you won't hear on mainstream media because they want everybody to stay asleep and to play nice and not really ask the real questions. Because sometimes you have to fight in order to hug it out again. You know, because sometimes you have to do that. Not saying that I'm ready to necessarily fight the people around me, but you know, if we have to, you know, we can hug it out afterwards. You know, hey, long as we take the main fight, the big fight, and overall that's the fight. You know, we get to. So I wanted to. Earlier, yeah. So with when I was talking about the Asian community marrying into whiteness, I wanted to talk about this analogy, which I thought was really, really interesting. Because like I was saying, when I was talking about, you know, you're not white, but at least you're not black. I was thinking it's almost like a school bully, right? You have the main bully. Everybody's afraid of this guy. And let's say this bully is white supremacist. Everybody's afraid of this guy. So scared. I don't want to cross him, or you know, that's gonna be ass. And you know, so and he's constantly picking on the poorest kid, the poor kid. He's constantly picking on him, pushing him, taking his food, saying, I wish you would say something. And the kid is complaining to all the other kids.
Yeah.
And the other kids they're not the bully's friends, but also it's like, hey, at least I ain't the poor kid. So, and they're benefiting off of that, even though that's not the best situation they can be. They're not benefiting directly like the bully, but you're getting the remedial, like almost like kind of like the scratch. You're not getting the biggest turkey, but you're getting a turkey. You get a small turkey, and then the poor kid gets the smallest scraps. So in that sense, it's just that's how I kind of see sometimes the other communities when we are being from mainstream media being asked, Black people need to go and support this other group, and it's just like, well, these groups don't support us because they are benefiting off of this bully. They sometimes align themselves with the bully because either they're giggling and laughing when the bully is messing with us, or some might want to say something but they're being silent, and we know silence is violence. Silence is basically you are okay with it happening because hey, it ain't happening to me. So I mean, I ain't got nothing to do with it. So I mean, even though he's treating you like shit, but he's not treating you like the poor kid. He's not treating you like that Black person.
Yeah.
At least you're not Black in that sense. And they're kind of what it. But I will say this: I want to shout out to those people within the different communities, the Asian community, the Hispanic community, who do vocally and loudly shout out and speak out and stand in support of the Black community. We just need more people like them. And I'm not sure if it's like a younger kind of generation thing, because typically the younger generation is kind of rebellious, a little bit more aware of the older generation because they are kind of more set in their ways and look, this is how it is, Black people are like this, or this other community is like that, and we have nothing to do with them. But you have the younger generation, which I want to definitely kudos to those of my age, even younger, who are challenging the system, challenging these norms that we said that are hurtful, to not only the Black community, but to a lot of communities. Even the model minority stereotype that's put on the Asian community that's harmful for them actually getting what they need from white supremacy, because they are hurting from white supremacy as well. So shout out to those people, even though it's not as many as I like, but I still want to call you out because you are amazing allies, because you speak out when you don't have to. You really don't have to. So kudos to that. I want to say there's a last, I guess, kind of question in regards to just mainly the Asian community. Like there's a notion, and a lot of people in the Black community have, talked about this. I've seen different comments on different topics here and there, but the Asian community has a large amount of wealth in this country. And I'm not going to say all, because I know some people like, well, my family doesn't have a lot of wealth. Like, yeah, maybe like the Filipinos don't have as much wealth as Chinese Americans, because China has Chinese Americans has direct support from China. So they ain't gonna do too much to the Chinese American people. They might do a little bit, but they ain't gonna be hanging Chinese people from trees or, really doing some really disastrous and dangerous stuff like they've been doing to the Black community. Because China ain't gonna go for that. And in China's corner is Russia, so they don't want that fight. America don't want that fight. So so like I said, mainly the Chinese Americans, I would attribute that wealth to them, because if you look at a lot of different graphs of wealth by race in America, it's typically white Americans, and then second, right under them, and this is really close under them, are Asians. So the Asian community has a second to wealth to white Americans. So a lot of, even though these things are happening, it's we're being abused, but there have been some claims where it's just like, well, y'all got money, y'all have access to money, even though you're being abused. Like Black people don't even have access to capital like that. We've been blocked on I don't know how many different fronts, and it's just one of those things that's true. I know some people might push back against that and saying like, hey, well, my family doesn't have a lot of money and stuff like that, but just as a whole, the Asian community has a lot of money. I mean, if you think about it, there are a lot, and there's probably people commenting on this in the comments, but in the Black community, there are a lot, and not just the Asians, but it's the Jewish people and Hispanics and on and on. They come into the Black community. You build your business. Mm-hmm. You close your business for the evening, and you take your profits and you bring it back to Chinatown, you bring it back to your Hispanic community, you bring it back to your Jewish community. Where does any of those profits go to the Black community that you are profiting off of? So a lot of people have a problem with that as well. And I feel like rightfully so. It's just that you come into our community and you don't benefit us outside of just giving us what milk and food and stuff and hair products and stuff like that. But you a lot of times mistreat us coming into our community. We welcome you. And this is how welcoming the Black community is. Almost anybody can come into our community, create your business, make money off of the Black community, but almost 100% of them leave and take their money back to their communities. So a lot of Black people have a problem with that. And I just wanted to say, is this a valid concern? Because they feel like no monetary value was donated or invested back into the Black community. Is this a valid concern that they do have?
Well, I mean, it is a valid concern, but also remember the system that you live in is good at extraction. And it's good at extracting from Black people. And it's not even just here. What continent in the world has the most resources? Africa. All this wealth that you're taking out of the ground in Africa, and we don't see a condition for not all the countries, but a lot of those countries is not changing, especially where they're taking these resources from. Because again, this global white supremacist system has just conditioned us to look at Black as being wrong. And it looks at Black people as being exploitable. Now, you notice when Black people had our wealth in our communities, what did they do? They attacked it, burned them down, created all types of economic law. I mean, even think back to one of my elders brought up this about the Freedmen's Bank, how Black people had the Freedmen's Bank right after slavery. And what the government do? They came in and took the banks over, took all those Black people's money. So this whole system, I mean, it's not just, it's Africa centrally because that's where so many resources are. But look at other Black and brown real countries, Venezuela, all these countries, they're doing the same thing. So it's this worldwide view that Black is just exploitable. It's usable. We're just the mules of the world. You know, that's this mentality that has been spread throughout the world by white supremacist systems. But at the same time, the rest of the world is going, no, I don't like the way these white people are treating us. I don't like the way this, I'm not feeling this. And so the mission is, and it's going to be hard because Black people, we do have to take care of what's ours first. We've done that, give it away. We've done that. Let's support everybody else. I'm going to support my Asian brothers and sisters because it's wrong. But understand, my task is home first. We do have to have these conversations, and we have to get these, not just have conversations, but we got to get some shit out. We got to tell the damn truth. The only reason why these other groups have been promoted is to keep these lines, these battle lines between these different minority groups. And usually when the revolution does start, it does usually start with Black folk. That's the reason why J. Edgar Hoover and them had to get rid of Fred Hampton. We just all watched that movie, right? And what was one of the main things that Fred Hampton was doing? He was going to talk to the rednecks. He was going to talk to the Hispanics. Yeah, you getting screwed this way, but we all getting screwed by the same folks. So we got to quit believing these narratives that they're making up about each other. We got to stop doing that. And what did they made sure that they got Fred Hampton off them streets, didn't they? They made sure. And then one of the things that, we have to stop feeling obligated to shop at these people's things. One of the things that I'm learning now, I don't really care about going into white people's establishments. I don't want to live in white neighborhoods. That's fine if you don't want to live next to me. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not going to go anywhere that I'm wanted. And I think that, again, that's another illusion that this country has given us, to where everybody's supposed to accept us. No, they're not. And they still haven't. All of these Black people out here that's doing fine and doing whatever, they're still not accepted by them. They're learning that now, even though they pretty much already knew, because I had a conversation Thursday with an Asian guy who has a charter school that wants to move into my old junior high school building. And I took one of my elders with me. She's 70 years old, does not have a filter, a muzzle. She's a retired teacher. She's a linguist. She studied debate. When I say that, she's awesome. And she's serious about education. She presented her stuff to this Asian guy because she dissected everything about it. His mission statement, his policies, and she came at him. You're doing this for black children? I wouldn't send my grandchild to your school. Told him bluntly like that. That 1 hour conversation turned into 4 hours. And the first thing she told him, she said, you know the way that we don't teach math right in this country. You know we don't. And she pointed at him and she said, and you know they don't teach it right. Because his family's from Korea. You know what he hung his head and said? Yes, ma'am, Miss Sherry, you are exactly right. They don't teach it right. And then he told me about his father immigrating to this country in the early 80s. He said how he was doing all of this stuff to fit in with his white peers. And he said that his father told him, I don't care what you do, how many degrees you get. These white people are never going to accept you as one of their own or their equal. His father is from Korea. So they know. They know this stuff. They know what it is. There was an interview on Democracy Now! Where they had an Asian reporter, and she said Asians don't like the police either. They mistreat us too. And she said, I don't want this to turn into a division, because she said she saw where they were trying to say black people are doing. She said, we cannot. She said, because if they increase, like they said, now they want to increase police presence. She said, we know. She said, don't let these people fool you. The Asian community, especially those that are brown, know what it's like and how scary it is to interact with the police. So they know. And see, now is just the time, if you want to ally and partner with us, we got to talk about these truths and get these truths on the table. We got to. Now, look at how, since all this is happening, how are these Asians responding? They know how to respond because they've been dealing with it already. They just, like so many of our so-called black middle class, they just smile and go with it. Well, at least it's not me, or at least it's not us, or at least, but not knowing that eventually, if you keep letting that stuff go, it eventually will reach your front door.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's real. Like it hits everybody. I mean, and one of the easiest examples I can reach back to is like the Jewish community during the Holocaust. You know, nobody said anything. I forgot that it's word for word, that exact quote too, because there's a quote with it as well. But it started with the Jewish people. Nobody said anything. Yeah. Nobody peeped up and said a word. They just, hey, well, at least it ain't me. It's not me. As time went on, it eventually got to all these other people. Because if you weren't blonde hair and blue eye, you out of here. You are out of here. You know,
and you know that they drove a rift between the black community and the Jewish community, I think, in the 1940s and 50s. You know, there was FBI, CIA. There were stronger bonds being made between the black community and Jewish communities during that time. You know, because of what, like, for instance, one person, you don't hear about her now, but one person or two people that were helping getting Jews out of Germany was Josephine Baker and Paul Robeson. And I know for God, you're not going to hear too much about Paul Robeson, because he was an open communist. And he said communism was better for black people. And he knew the history of these things. And so they couldn't out-talk him. He was a classically trained opera singer, famous for singing Old Man River. But read his things, listen to his lectures. It's the same stuff. And these two black people were getting more Jews out of Germany. Josephine Baker, a black performer from St. Louis. You know, so there were closer bonds being made. And what this country does what it does best, created a division.
Yeah.
And we have to combat we have to combat all of these things now, because we have Asian people saying the exact same thing about us that white people do, but we know what they say about Asians. We know that, and we're seeing where, so like last year, the China virus. I said I knew it was coming. The first people that they were going to blame, they're going to blame everybody but themselves. And so now we had this big opposition last year that was multiracial. Yeah, let's drive a rift between Asians and black people. It's classic. It's classic divide and conquer. Mm. And also, when you're coming off those mainstream news outlets, you have to be very careful, because like they know they're given marching orders to do things like that. Like, why would you even write an article after this happened about these Asian people being murdered? Why would you even write an article about how to be an ally to Asian people? And why would you even do that? Mm. You're not focusing on what white supremacy has done in this case, but you're going to take it and throw it back at black people. Why? Why would you even do that? And the whole goal is to be divisive. That's the whole thing. And these mainstream outlets are good. They manipulate these words, and they've been doing it for a long time. Somebody was probably told I need an article that talks about black people and Asian people. That's probably what somebody in that editorial room yelled at them, and they went and wrote it.
And it's the crazy thing is, on top of that, somebody that looks like us, and it's just like, you should know better.
Well, you have to understand too. They like, I have it's certain outlets that I don't even fool with anymore, because you see every time something happens with black people, they always they don't talk about it, but they just throw it out there as like a piece of meat for just and they I had my homeboy had to challenge a group of these popular commentators. I ain't gonna say their names because they're sort of very popular, but it was around the time when they wrote that article about black men being the white people of black people.
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing that article. And I hope not, but it is. But one of my homeboys had to challenge them on that. And the guy couldn't even respond because he came here to Memphis with that. And the guy tried to respond, but it didn't make any sense because he couldn't, because my homeboy had his facts backed up.
Oh wait, you talking about the root?
Yeah, but
no, because we mentioned the root a few times on here, because Boyce is not a fan of the root because it seems to target black men a lot.
But remember what they have to do. They have a niche market that they have to target to entertain, and that's what they do. And so that's what all of this about black people is predicated upon, making the money and all of that kind of stuff. But that was just, again, it was just like, think about the last election, when right after the day after the election, when it looked like Trump was going to win again. Who were the first people that all of the main news outlets went out and blamed? Oh, well, there was a 2% increase among black male voters for Donald Trump. There was a 2% increase among black women, too. There was an increase, especially among white women, but you only heard about black men.
Yeah. Because I remember looking up those statistics, and I was just like, man, there is a larger turnout of definitely like increasing white women and increasing black women as well. Because and black men. They're like, but they don't want to talk about everybody else, but let's pin it on, because that's a whole nother, because you are trying to make you are trying to really separate black women from black men. Yeah. Don't trust your own black man. Yeah. Like, black women are saving democracy. Black men, they are voting for
when it's actually both black men and black women that have constantly saved democracy. The sisters have been present and black men have been present. But you have a pop media with media superstars that really don't know journalism, and they're in these niche markets, and they have to cater to that market. They have to cater to that, or they get in trouble for it. And that stuff, it sells, it gets clicks, it gets all of that stuff, and so that's what they have to do. But they don't realize, like, maybe if you all just start telling the truth, maybe people will listen. But again, it's divisiveness. That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. And everybody tuning in, please make sure you hit this like button. I mean, Frank is just dropping some really good information on here, touching back on the history of how we even got to this point. And ultimately, the main culprit is white supremacy. They are the puppet masters behind all of this. So again, hit that like button so the more people can see this. We need this video to get out so that way we can finally address this elephant in the room for all of us to see, because we have to have this tough conversation as why, because they don't want to talk about it. They just want to blame black people again. Oh, black people aren't supporting. No. We need to know why. Then we can move from there. Then we can talk about, okay, so now what are these solutions? Now that we've addressed the why are there issues? So that way the other side can know as well, like what they need to work on. Oh, this is why black people aren't really supporting the Asian crowd. Okay, we need to work on this so that they can become more supportive, and because it's intersectional. It's like, I mean, basically quid pro quo. They're like, hey, you help me, I help you. But lately, a lot for the black community is like, I help you, I get screwed. Okay, well, okay, we'll try this time. I help you, oh, I get screwed again. Okay, well, we'll try. I help you, I keep getting screwed. Black people are tired of getting screwed by helping, because we love, in our hearts, in our heart of hearts, we have been helping people. Yeah. We always want to help people. We are so giving, even in our culture, music, entertainment, movies, all this stuff. What's the one girl, Aquanifa? She's benefiting heavily off of black culture. Yep. By dressing and acting stereotypically black and all that stuff. That is a negative stereotype on black people. But again, you're benefiting off of that from the black culture.
Well, you just remember that, it's things are bad when we do it, and then when white people start doing, all of a sudden it's cool.
Yeah, it's
like sisters been wearing shower caps on their head and doing their business for decades, and it was ghetto, it was hood, it was all this kind of stuff. Now we got a white woman comes out doing the exact same thing and wants to charge $100 for the shower cap. Oh, that's hip and it's in. So it's only considered ghetto when white people don't like it. When they like it, they steal it and make it part of the culture, of the overall culture. So that's why I don't even, I try to not get into that, because we have style pouring out of us. We have style. And so when they don't understand the style, they're going to demean it, dehumanize it, do whatever until they can figure out how to make a profit off of it. And then it's cool.
Yeah. And so it's like we criminalize black people, but now we can make money.
We can make money off of it.
Weed is fine. It's fine.
I mean, like, I have a joke. Like, I don't know if your listeners know of this song Sir Mix-a-Lot put out 1992, Baby Got Back. And I think it's hilarious because all the functions that I've been to with white people, they always play that song and everybody gets out there and, they mess up stuff. But most people don't remember the reason why he put that song out in the first place. It wasn't just for black women to get on there and shake their behinds. He was giving a shout out because black women at that time, and still do, were facing so much discrimination from the modeling agencies and the fashion magazines and all of these things, because they would say that black women were fat because they had hips and they had behinds. And so if you listen, and back then when it came out, it was huge, because Sir Mix-a-Lot was, I'm doing this because I'm tired of how black women are critiqued or criticized because they have fuller frames or they have fuller shapes. And so if you listen to the lyrics, he says, so Cosmo says you're fat, but I'm not down with that. And he said to the beanpole dames in the magazines, you ain't it, Miss Thing. Give me a sister, I can't resist her. Red beans and rice didn't miss her. That was his way of saying, black women, believe in yourself, believe in your bodies, you look good. Now, every white person, back when it came out, they were talking about black women so bad. Now, they want to get out there and do it to the same song too, and completely forget the history of it.
Yeah.
So again, it's ghetto, it's hood, it's too black when they haven't figured out a way to make money off of it. That's why I tell us, be proud of what black people have created in this country. They are hated 10 years. They are hated last year. As soon as they can make some money off of it, they're going to love it. That's why in the early 90s, you had Boys in the Hood, and then you had Menace to Society, two great quote unquote hood movies, that kind of balanced each other out. And they figured out, and then, like when Boys in the Hood came out, LA, the reporters out of LA had a map up where they were going to put thumbtacks in the map everywhere that there was a movie shooting that was playing Boys in the Hood. But then when they realized, we can make some money off that, every movie from the late 90s on was a hood movie, and they were bad hood movies too. So it's bad when they hate it and when they can't make money off of it, but as soon as they can make money, it's mainstream. No, be proud of what we make. Be proud of it. You don't have to like it. You can dislike it, but at the same time, don't demean it and call it ghetto and look at it through a white supremacist lens. Don't look at these things the way that they look at us, because I can guarantee you, as soon as they can make money off of it, they're going to steal it, claim it for their own. And then, they're going to make millions of dollars off of it. So it's our culture. So let's be proud of it.
Yeah, again, and that's a good segue to be like, hey, if you are proud of your Black community, proud of this Black media right now, just hit the like button, share this video so that more people can see it. We need more people to get this information out, because, like, again, we need to have this tough conversation, and these conversations need to be had. We can't gloss over it, because mainstream media will gloss over it. And then 4 years later, we'll figure, why are we still in this conference? Because I'm tired of hearing, why is this still happening? My grandparents, my great-grandparents went through this, and we're still going through. No. We need to stop having those conversations and start actually moving forward. So if you share this video so that more people can see this, we can have these tough but real conversations, because we need the context. We need that context. Where is the context? Because a lot of these articles won't give the context. I want to give you the context on the JT Effect. This is where you're getting the context. Frank W. Johnson is giving you context, and I'm glad to have you here. So I guess my last question, then I'll let you go. You've been gracious, more than gracious with your time, and I appreciate it. The reasoning for the divide of the Black community and the Asian community that exists right now, largely, a lot of it stems, all of it, in a sense, all of it stems from white supremacy. Yeah. I'm not even gonna say largely. All of it stems from white supremacy. It all comes from that. How can we resolve these lingering issues and actually come to like what Fred Hampton was doing? Fred Hampton was, because there was, even when the Black Panther was out, there was I think White Panthers, and there was like an Asian group. I don't even know what they were called, but you had all these different groups coming together. How do we come together, resolve these issues, and take on the puppet master, white supremacy, who are pulling the strings of all of it? I mean, it's what you just said. We gotta, so much of activism has become boutique, that people just don't like what was even said about what the young lady said about the breaking of the windows during the protests. Well, what the hell do you think happens during protests? What do you think happens during revolutions? We have been, again, another form of conditioning. Revolutions have to be nice and peaceful. It has never been. There has never been a nice revolution. The revolution that supposedly happened in this country was not nice. The civil rights movement wasn't all night. I mean, who was this? I think it was Eddie Glaude when he said, we treat the civil rights movement like a 3-day weekend party. On Friday, we didn't have no rights. Martin Luther King came, and on Sunday he marched, and Monday everybody got free. Tell me, and like one of the conversations we were having last year about Black people, when they was, how they use folks died for us to have the right to vote. Folks died to own everything else too. They also, I said, now how did they even get the right to vote? They had to get in the street. Now show me where they mailed in letters and said, please let us vote. No. We're going to shut your mess down. We're going to go to your lunch counters. We're going to create so much hell to where you have to deal with us. That's one of the things that they said when King left a meeting with Lyndon Baines Johnson. And they love talking about how wonderful Lyndon Baines, he was so wonderful. He was racist. He didn't like King. As soon as King wouldn't come out for him politically, he shut the door on King, took away his invitation to the White House and his FBI protection. So, yeah.
As soon as, and see, and that's an example right there of how King would not allow himself to be used. LBJ wanted to use King politically. I think he told King, where, I'm doing this Civil Rights Act for you. You're going to do something for me. King said, no, you're not doing this for me. You're doing this because it's the right thing to do. And then as soon as he pissed off Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ took away his FBI protection, took away his invitation to the White House. Because King said, you know what? I'm not going to even let you do this. No, you're not doing this as a favor to me. See, that's when you start making the change that needs to be happening. People stop welcoming you to stuff. And the way to deal with this, we're going to have some hardcore conversations. Now, I don't know. There's some people out there that are brave enough to do that. I don't know if that's my calling, and it might very well could be. There's going to have to be, because like, contrary to popular belief, what happened in DC on the 6th was not poor white people. Those were well-to-do white people. We just found out that here in Memphis, a group of white millionaires and business owners from Memphis took a private flight to DC to be there for that. And then they released one of the names of the guy, and guess what he said? Oh, well, I was just going there as a historian to notate this event. I didn't, but they're doing the same thing. Now, poor white people ain't flying in on private jets. These were upper middle class and rich white people doing this and participating in this. And because they're so arrogant, they just didn't expect any repercussions. They still probably not going to be fully tried. But again, that's what this is. It's simple divide and conquer. And so there has to be talks with, these poor white people, these working white people, and these white people that understand what's going on. The thing is, when we go into these discussions this time, we just can't, there has to be, there has to be true unity and not just us. And like you said, if you do, and I've heard Nina Turner say that so many times too, if you take care of black people, you take care of everybody.
Yeah.
That's going to have to be, and that's going to have to be some real, and I really don't like saying conversations. I said that there needs to be some coming of terms. They need to come to terms. We need to lay some truth down. Because we've been having conversations for decades and we still ain't getting a damn thing done. There needs to be hardcore decisions made and realities revealed. Because at this point, if you're still believing in this illusion of white supremacy, then they've successfully messed your mind up.
Yeah.
They have successfully done that. I just saw somebody put up about more black businesses. Well, let's remember when we had those black businesses, what did they do? We talk about Tulsa. Tulsa wasn't the only place that happened in. There was Wilmington, North Carolina. There was Rosewood in Florida. Here in Memphis, they rammed the interstates through black successful areas. So like we're going to have to do this thing holistically. It's going to have to be countrywide. That's why I keep saying that this country is not going to survive, because these things are so embedded into the fabric of this nation that, at some point it's going to have to just be ripped up and you're going to have to start over.
Yeah.
And I think that's what and the country didn't just start down this. This has been a trajectory we've been on for like the last 40 or 50 years. Really, I like to say how King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, all of the sisters, all of them were actually prophets. They were like America's last warning, get right. And it refused. It killed them. It murdered those people. So you murdered the last of the prophets. You murdered your warning. And so now you've just done something that you cannot get out of now. And so empires rise and fall. The thing is that look at what has happened with a simple winter storm in Texas. Here in Memphis, we had to boil water. Never seen that before. Look at what's happening. And they can't even respond to it. You couldn't even respond to the COVID-19 epidemic, because like doctors don't even have masks, because guess what? Under this capitalistic system, you don't stockpile masks and protective gear anymore. You have to wait for something to happen to, or, you know, then you got to order it. But back in the day, hospitals used to just, it's just like a school not having pencils, you know, not keeping pencils stored up. But, you know, it's not profitable, so they don't do it. And look where it leaves us.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Jonathan Cross said before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the exact wording right, where he said, we Black people are, I mean, maybe you said this too, but Black people are reactionary. And
well, it's not just Black people, it's the whole country.
I mean, not Black people, sorry, the country.
Because,
the country is reactionary. Yeah.
That's what we do. It's just us. No. White people do the same. Look at what's happening in the Asian community now. Reaction. That's the whole country. It's not just, see, again, that's what it's just Black. No, it's the whole thing. Do we catch more to hell? Yeah. But we've been conditioned under this stuff too. That's the reason. Why do you think they're not used to us asking questions? And then when we started doing this in 2016. You remember when they walked up on Hillary Clinton, you know, at her fundraiser, and look how she reacted to them.
Got mad.
Got mad. Because when we're so, like, we've been so conditioned to be passive that when we actually start getting aggressive, and I've noticed it in the work that I'm doing now around communities, I'm hated. I'm not invited to things because, first of all, you asked me to come and I'm going to speak, and I'm going to speak from what I know. And I'm going to speak confidently, and I'm going to ask you questions. That's not considered good coming from Black people, Black men and Black women. And it's not, and that's where we get the whole, you know, angry Black man, angry Black woman trope from. And a lot of times it's not even that. They have been so conditioned to view us as passive, and we've been so conditioned to be in that when we start getting aggressive, they don't know what to do. Because see, that very same aggression in a white man is celebrated. Oh, he's just a go-getter. It's even celebrated in white women. But when it comes to Black men and women, oh no, you're supposed to be quiet. And when you react in that way, I don't know what to do with you. I'm nervous, and so let's get rid of you. And that's exactly how it happens. And like we have to have conversations like that. We have to have certain minority groups that have to understand that they were allowed access, you know, to undercut another group. Those are some hard truths.
You know, I've been seeing people leave comments, in a sense, under other posts. Like, for instance, with that article with the misleading title. Again, I'll share it again for those who have not seen it. And this is kind of what started this whole thing, where, because I wasn't really going to talk about it until I saw this article. And, you know, it's triggering and it's gaslighting. But I have been very happy about the same thing, like you said, Black people asking questions, Black people saying, well, hey, well, this stuff does happen too. And I am completely against any hate crimes that happen, and not just Asian, but with anybody, you know, but in particularly with the rise of Donald Trump saying the China flu and all of that. I mean, we all knew that was coming. Eventually they were going to start being targeted. Just like you said, it was, the writing was on the wall. So I do not condone that at all, because that's just not, these are people innocently walking and going about their lives. That's not right. But do not share an article like this gaslighting the Black community when we are consistently some of the first ones that come to the defense. I mean, hell, the NAACP is constantly throwing their support behind every group alive. Black Lives Matter. You look on their website, you have to sit there. Oh yeah. Oh, there's Black people, because you have to look and see where Black people are. You know, because they're supporting everybody.
We've always been inclusive. We've always been, and that's, you know, it's a blessing. Like, look at our shows. We've always tried to have everybody on our show. I mean, we've always done that.
Right. You know, so I want to, even though we don't have a large portion of in the Asian community supporting the Black people, I do want to shout out those who actually do, with the independent articles, or even there was, I think I saw a video Tony Baker shared of last year of AAPI. Somebody was speaking out in support of the Black community. And even though that's a small group, but even that person was saying like, she was taking accountability for, we need to start doing better. We need to stop being silent. We need to start going and supporting our Black brothers and sisters. And there are people out there like that.
I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Because was she barefoot or something?
I don't know. She was.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see if I can find that video, because I thought that was really interesting. And actually I want to share that video too, if I can find it. Tony Baker shares so many videos, and funny videos if you guys wanted to watch. I think this is it.
One thing you said though is about get some independent media. Democracy Now. Just find you some good independent media, because like we don't have media. We never really had it in the first place. But it's really so important now, because they're going to try to come against a lot of the people putting out these this independent media. So they're going to use big tech to kind of keep you from going to those sites and redirect you to their mainstream sites. So Democracy Now, Real News Network, sometimes The Hill. I have my problems with The Hill because that guy on there, he just doesn't want to think that race is actually a big deal in the system here in the United States. But get you some good independent news sources, and be careful, because they're flooding YouTube with a whole bunch of trash, videos. We saw that last year. So, follow up with these people when they're interviewing them. Look who these people are. Look them up. See what histories they have, who they work for, because that all plays a part into it. You have to dissect. One of the messed up things about Trump is that Trump was right when he was saying stuff about fake news. He was right. Mm-hmm. The problem is that he's benefited from it, but he was exactly right. We have a lot of fake, horrible news.
Yeah, and that's one thing we need to be honest about, because as much as they were attacking Trump and attacking him, he's always lying. Even a broke clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump,
that's that football. That's that sports team mentality, where you just cheer for anybody that's on your side, or shooting the ball that's on your team. You don't know anything about them. And then you might even go outside and fight somebody from the other side, and them winning or losing doesn't benefit you in any way other than you beating your chest.
We need to start, just like Frank was saying, and like I was saying earlier, we need to start being honest, just completely honest. Was Trump a bad president? Yeah, but also he was speaking some truths, even though, just like Frank said, he benefited from those things that he was speaking truths about, like talking about fake news. He was benefiting from it. But
just remember, Trump was what Trump has always been. I knew this man was garbage in the 1990s. Bro, he was bankrupt then, inherited. So I have no clue, no idea. And then and I'm gonna add another layer of this to you. So the ousted head of CBS, when right after Trump was elected, I think you can go find that article. But he said how they purposely, when Trump announced that he was running, they focused on purpose all of their attention on him. They zeroed in on him, gave him all this free publicity, and the CEO said, yeah, Trump is bad for the country, but he's great for ratings.
Yeah, no, he's amazing for ratings.
Now, rather than focus on somebody like for all his problems, Bernie Sanders, you give Donald Trump all of this attention, all of this, all this free advertising. And then you realize a few months later, oh, this just got real.
Exactly.
Oh, what are we going to do? You helped him right into office.
Mainstream media helped Donald Trump get into office.
And thinking and then they later on found out where the Democratic Party had actually kind of gotten them to kind of do that, because they thought that they could embarrass Trump. But if you know Trump's history, Trump don't care about nothing. He don't care about nothing. He never has.
I wanted to I found a video that I was talking about before that Tony Baker shared, and this is in regards to AAPI. last year when George Floyd and all the protests and stuff was going on. So I'll share this, and this will basically be the last thing that I kind of share for today. Make sure the audio is on.
콜로니얼리즘이 되는 거를 우리가 왜 몰라? 근데 우리 역사도 제대로 얘기를 안 하. 우리 중에 어디나 계급. 근데 이 미국에서는 더 이렇게 복잡하게 race and class. 네? 왜 바깥에서 말로만 해서 I'm down with you, I am in solidarity 하는 거는 액션을 우리가 제대로 같이 안 하면 아무 효과 없는 그냥 말만 하는 거예요. 그런데 당하는 사람들을 급한 사람들 제일 급하게. 근데 착각하지 말라고 우리 한국 사람들. We all need to be, understanding the history. 그래서 디바이드하고 누가 커버할 수 있냐? 그러면 여기 우리가 6년 됐다 하고 우리 이민 히스토리. 그러면 우리가 어떻게 당해서 여기 이런 나라까지 와서 세계가 퍼졌는지 그 역사를 다시 찾고 우리를 뿌리를 찾고 그리고 제일 필요한 사람들, 제일 힘든 사람들을 우리가 같이 solidarity 없으면 우리 지구 is in danger. 왜 그러냐면 structurally 저기 그 1%가 힘이 있고 돈 있고 리소스 있고 그러면 지금 당장 죽어가는 사람들, 배고픈 사람들, 노숙자들 우리가 돈이 없어서 그걸 못하는 게 아니에요. 왜냐면 힘든 사람들은 놀아주고 싶지 않아요. 그게 내가 너무 아직 우리 깨달음이 안 생겼다 하는 게 너무 속상해요. 왜냐면 당하는 사람들은 그게 금방 보여요. 저기 니네들 solidarity 좋아하네? 왜냐면 나는 이렇게 하고 우리 같이 총을 쏘다 우리한테 쏴든가 같이 억압을 하든가 아니 역사를 모르든가 그러면 there is no true solidarity. 그래서 진실로 우리가 commit ourselves. 제일 처음에는 우리가 뭐를 해야 될 일을 그 다음에는 step by step. We don't have time, but we have to educate ourselves. 그리고 anti-blackness within our community is severe. Within the community of color is severe. Yes. And Asian communities is severe. Anti-blackness in the way we should really know that this is not about other people, and that there will be time that will come for us, and there will be no one standing for anybody. 그렇다면 we have to put into action whatever we say about solidarity work. 1992, whatever the LA rebellion. 아직도 제대로 소화를 못 시키고 그때서부터 우리가 깨달음이 생겼어요 for our community. 그러면 우리 장사하는 거 빼지고 우리 이런 것만 포커스 해요. 근데 여기서 바로 Black Lives Matter is not just a trend. 우리 당신 자식이 되면 당신 형제, 당신 남편이 집에서 나가서 오늘 저녁에 돌아올까 말까, 경찰에 잡힐까? 그러면 당신들도 기독교에서 뭐를 가르쳐주고 있어요? It's not just about charity and giving to somebody else. It's truly understanding, be on the shoe, and be walking in those shoes. 그래서 너무 기독교는 게 저는 you talk with both sides of your mouth. 예수를 진실로 믿는 때문, 지금 예수님이 살아있기 때문 당신들이 어떻게 지금 you're killing them, 저기 한다면 지금 그러면 보라색에서 안 됐지만 나는 내 일을 할 거라. We cannot live another day that way.
So that's basically them marching in response to Black people. So Frank, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah,
and also other people who have been watching that, leave your thoughts in the comments. What are your thoughts on that as well?
I mean, she's exactly right. I mean, you need to send me that. I think that's. Yeah. I mean, and she said everything that we said. Like you can wait around and say it's not you, but when they come for you, it ain't gonna be nobody else standing.
Yeah, no, and that's just real, and that's completely real. That and also speaking that that's what I'm saying. The hard truths that there is a lot of anti-blackness
Yeah.
Not even just in the Asian community, but in a lot of different communities.
It's in all. I mean, it is in
even in the Black community too.
Because just think, every group that comes here, whether they want to or not, you're going to assimilate into the culture, and and it's going to teach you certain things. You know, it's going to teach you certain things, and especially if you have no experience with those people. But again, our media system is so strong and so powerful. Like, they can literally convince us that nothing's happening outside of our window, but if we look out our window, there's a flood happening. They could probably literally convince us, because we are that far gone in this country with propaganda and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that's everything we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's
anti-Black. It's just pervasive.
And just like Motown House said, you know, it's probably one of the most. But that's what I mean. There are people, and that's why I was saying that earlier. There are Asians out there who are speaking on our behalf, but they're not getting the spotlight.
And see, and remember this too, and just think about why they're not getting the spotlight. Because what's that going to add to between these two communities? Animosity.
Yeah.
Oh, ain't no Asians saying nothing about nothing. But the ones that are speaking, they're not being covered. And they do, like, oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna give you another example, and I'm gonna go. So you know how I've been keeping up with the Michael Jackson stuff, right? So last year, the estate of Michael Jackson, and y'all know that documentary was straight garbage, and you know it's been this, you know, all of good stuff. And we'll do a whole show about the history of Michael Jackson and what he did and why they turned against him. But if you let me see, wait a minute, what was it? So a few months ago, the estate of Michael Jackson won a lawsuit against HBO for defaming, and a violation of contract. And the media reported, because what ended up happening by them winning that suit, they would have to have a public hearing. Which is really what the Jackson estate wants, because they want the real truth to come out about why this last documentary came out. It's straight garbage, no research, no nothing. The news media, the outlets that did cover the story, they reported that Michael Jackson's estate wants to have a private arbitration. But if you go right in and read the story, it says how HBO wants to have private arbitration, but the title and the heading makes it looks like Michael Jackson's estate wants everything to be quiet.
Wow.
And you had people reporting this, and then going in, and then you went right in and it said that the estate wants everything to be public, but HBO wants to have private arbitration. But they, again, you making Michael Jackson's estate look devious and evil. Again, who's controlling these pens? Who's controlling these narratives? And if they don't like what you're saying, you're just not going to be covered. You could be up there screaming it to the roof, to the rooftops. But when that camera turns on you, and because they control so much of the media, it's been consolidated so much, they might not hear you.
Yeah. It's really disgusting, but keep your eyes open. There are allies. I mean, even though it's not as large as we would like for them to be for the Black community, but that has always been the case. But I've always said, even with like the people who, there will always be, even in your own life, there's people who let's say won't support your dreams. You have these dreams to do these amazing big things. But focus on the ones who do support your dream. Focus on them, because the more you focus on the people who don't, then the more you become bitter, the more you become sad, depressed, and you forget all about the people who actually want to support you. You forget about like for instance, Frank would be in my corner with, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this, and Frank would be like, yeah man, you should do it or whatever. Yeah, yada yada yada. But if I'm so busy focused on all these people who don't, and that goes back to what Frank was saying, like, why are we so worried about these people who don't want to live with us? Like, if you don't want to live with us, fine. We build our own community. We don't need you here.
I want you.
Let's focus on the people who want to live with us. Like, hey, you want to live? My own Black people. We can live amongst one another, and we're gonna be great. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna do amazing. But we don't need you to be in our community. We probably don't even want you to be in our community. Since you don't want to be in our community, we don't want you. You're fine. You can go over there. Go on somewhere. So, but yeah, there are, and I showed that to show that there are Asians who are woke, Asians who who know what's up, and that goes back to when Fred Hampton was reaching and really touching all these people to say, hey, we have a common enemy. We're not as different as they like to think we are. We're not that different. We have a common issue, and this is white supremacy. White supremacy is the enemy. So that's really what I wanted to boil it down to. But also, I didn't want to disregard how the Black community was feeling, because that's real. I don't want, because our feelings are constantly disregarded and put to the side, and we're told we're crazy. That's why I was saying it's gaslighting to have an article like the one I shared, and I showed it one last time for those to see an article like this. It's gaslighting, and it's triggering because Black people have been through a lot of pain. But I want to say that there are people who do support us, and we need to connect with them and hopefully through them and with them telling their own community what they need to improve on, that we can actually grow and we can start connecting more. But again, we have to have these tough conversations. We have to have these tough conversations because what Black people feel is legitimate and real. What the Black community is feeling is real, and you can't deny that. So I'm pointing out the elephant in the room. I'm pointing that out because there's a lot of Black people have these issues that, hey, I get mistreated when I come into your business. I was killed because you thought I was stealing something out of your business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on. You don't even invest back into our community, and your business is in our community. So we have to have these tough conversations. And now that some of you are speaking out saying, hey, support us, you have said nothing in regards to Black people. But now you want me to throw my lot in with you. So what's going to happen after I throw my lot in with you when I need your help in about 2 to 3 months? Because sadly, there's probably gonna be another Black person that dies. When I need your help, are you going to speak out? Are you going to say something? So we need to have these tough conversations because that's real. That's what Black people are feeling. And I don't want to disregard, because a lot of media, mainstream media, disregards Black people's feelings as a whole and try to call us crazy. We're not crazy. You're not crazy. But also we have to reach for some kind of a bridge. We have to connect in some way. So let's connect with the people who actually support us. Let's do that. But just like Frank said, we have to start at home too, though. We have to start focusing more so on ourselves, because we start focusing more so and we constantly focusing and saving the world for everybody. We can't even save us. We don't have no energy to save ourselves. So, but there's any last thoughts, Frank? Because I think I've said enough.
You said everything I need to say, man.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, this is my guest, Frank W. Johnson. He is a teacher and activist. You can follow him. I put up his handle, so you can follow him at FWJ Jr. on Instagram. You can just type in Frank W. Johnson on Facebook, and you can find him there. Is there anything I'm missing for you, Frank?
Just tell him I cuss on my Facebook page.
He cussed on his Facebook page, but hey, he's in the streets. He's doing what needs to be done. It ain't pretty. Getting real work done ain't pretty. So don't expect for him to have pretty flowery words for you. He won't, but he'll keep it real. And also the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on for those, like you said, we need to support Black businesses. Like, hit this like button, support Black media, hit the like button, subscribe to the Black Boss channel, subscribe to the JT Effect. Also, if you want to contribute, I put this up here. You can contribute to the JT Effect if you care about Black media and you want to invest into Black media. You can invest into the JT Effect if you really appreciate what we've done today. You can invest $1, $5, or $10 at the link at the bottom right there, anchor.fm/JT Effect/support. Again, that's anchor.fm/JT Effect/support. If you want to invest and get more information like this, more guests like Frank W. Johnson to hit these hard, talk about context, because nobody talks about context. We talk about this. Or if you want to give more, because I know somebody asked, well, what if I want to give more than $10? You can contribute to paypal.me/Thomas Harry Visions or Cash App, the $ Thomas Harry Visions. That's the name of my media company that I run, I control. Black owned, no white person is over my company. and that's a good thing. So the only on the Black Boss channel, voices over there, black owned, everything black owned, black owned, black owned, black owned. So if you want to support and invest in black media, that's how you do it. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Stay black, stay proud, stay educated. You know what I'm saying? And go follow Frank W. Johnson. Go follow me at JT Slim Cutter, at the JT Effect. Follow me all over. And we'll see y'all later. Thank y'all so much. I have a great rest of the day. Peace.